So if you have some loved ones and you ain't got it right with them, I want you to go home and get it right. Yes. You know what we do, especially in the black community. He owed me $5. I ain't gonna never talk to him again. They ain't pay me back my $5. Forgiveness and the power of redemption. Oh, y'all ain't with me. The most powerful thing you can do is the act of forgiveness. That ain't even why I came here to talk to you. But that's what my spirit gave me this morning. Y'all got spirits, don't you? And there's somebody in this room that needed to hear that. Oh, I'm mad with my brother. He done something to me. I ain't never gonna talk to him. I'm mad with my sister. I'm mad with my cousin. Let it all go. Let it all go so you can prosper. Forgiveness. Forgiveness and the power of redemption. I'm gonna leave it right there. So I'm gonna dedicate this conference to my father, a very, very diligent farmer. And as I made that decision, my daughter is in the room somewhere. There she is in the back. Y'all give her a round. She's part of the reason why I helped make the decision to come. She said, Daddy, Granddaddy is always, he's already at peace with you. He would want you to do what it is that you do with these farmers. And because of that, she helped make me make the right decision to come today. I'm gonna stop there talking about my personal storm, but I had to tell you about it. Because you're gonna get in that storm eventually. And you better be ready for it because it's painful. My dad is my best friend. I worked with him for over 3 decades, man, farming. And he taught me everything about farming. And he taught me this very, very important statement. He said, John, in a tobacco field, we were standing in a tobacco field. Back then, my daddy carrying down the road tobacco right beside. And we were talking about race relations. And we got to the end of the road, he said, well, John, you're dark-skinned, big burly man like I am. He said, things are gonna be harder for you. He said, very few people like darker-skinned men. And I want you to know in a very positive way. I appreciate that because it helped pave the way for what I was going to be faced many, many decades later. Know your history, know your family, and at the end of the day, family comes first, people. Yes, that's who's going to be there with you. So let me get back to the farming piece. That's why we're here. Farmers are the most important people in the world. You may not need a doctor today. You may not need a lawyer today, but you need a farmer today. Oh, y'all ain't with me? Least most recognized people in the world are farmers. And I want to say this to Native American community. They stole everything from you, and they put them on reservations that didn't have the highest quality of soil. But guess what? God brought you through. You're still persevering. You're still here. And you're still doing what it is that you know how to do the best, which is farm. We have some Native Americans here today. I want you to stand up. And I want our audience to give them a round of, stand up. Don't be shy. You got your hat on today. You told me you want to say, y'all give them a round of applause. These are Native American farmers. And these are America's first people. We can do better than that. These are America's first people. America's first people stole all the land from them. And then they made slaves out of black farmers. And you went on to become sharecroppers. Oh, y'all with that after the Civil War. We went on to become what? Sharecroppers, didn't we? So it's been stealing a very, very long time. But I want to tell you today that God is sitting high and he's looking low. And he's going to bring some changes in this country. Oh, y'all ain't with me. God uses people to deliver his messages. God speaks through the flesh. And if you were confused about that, I'm here to attest, because I'm an example of that. If you had told me 40 years ago I'd be sitting here talking to beautiful people like you, I would say there's no way. Man, I used to stutter. I stuttered so bad I could barely say my name. But when I was thrown into the limelight, God fixed it so that I would know what to say at the right time. Y'all ain't with me today. We all got a story. Your story may not be as interesting as his story, and your story may not be as interesting as that person's story, but you all have stories. And blacks in this country, we have an amazing story. Surviving Jim Crow. At the turn of the century, we owned 1 million. We were 1 million black farmers strong in this country. Today, by the census, we're less than 50,000 black farmers in this country. We own 20 million acres of land. At the turn of the century, today we're down to about 4 million acres of land. And the land is the most powerful tool that you can possess. Don't get it wrong. Land ownership. You know what we do. Daddy dies. Man, I need some money. I'm selling daddy land. I ain't thinking about that land. I'm living in New York City. I ain't never coming back to Mississippi. All folks down there ain't good enough for me. And then they retire. Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting warmed up now. Then they retire and come down to the same people that they were looking down on. And guess what, people? They now need your help. They lived in an apartment for 40 years. Now they come back and all of a sudden they want to do something. And you're the one with the house. You're the one with the land. The rather they were looking down on. Oh, y'all know the story. Be careful how we judge others. The little people. Yes. Don't look down on people. You came down from your high horse and asking people who you thought were low, and they're actually a step up than you are in society because they have land. And when you have land, you got what? You got power. Every good thing comes from the land. Every great thing comes from the land. Clean drinking water, healthy food, timber to build houses, cotton to put on your back, food to feed your family. Everything good comes from the land. It's what we do with it that makes it bad, people. Oh, y'all ain't with me. If you be a good steward of the land, as my daddy said, if you take care of the land will always take care of you. It's when you don't, as we say in the country, tend to the land. What happens to it? It grows up, doesn't it? Huh? Grows up into shrubby trees, and then guess what? You can't farm it anymore, can you? Keep that tractor in the field, no matter how bad the government treats you. Keep that tractor in the field, no matter how bad people look down on you. Keep that tractor in the field and pass it on to the next generation of farmers. Land is about passing on generational wealth. When you take the generational wealth away from your children, guess what you take it away what? Their ability to have a first stepping stone in life. Life is baby steps. It's not huge steps like our kids think now, right? I need to talk about our youth for a minute before I introduce my next speaker. Look here. Our children want everything right now. This is the generation of right now. This is the generation of FU. Oh, y'all ain't with me. We need to go back in time for a second when we would never speak to our elders in such a manner. Oh, y'all ain't with me. We need to go back in time when we raised our voice at our elders. You wouldn't be able to sit down at night. Oh, y'all ain't with me. Now they call it child abuse. Back then we called it what? Healthy raising of the next generation. To treat others with love and dignity and respect. That's the way that our elders treated us. Church wasn't an option. Y'all ain't with me. You can hang out Saturday night all you want. You're going to church Sunday morning. Now we got our children in the house 30 and 40 years of age, telling us what we're going to do in our house. I ain't doing this, and I ain't doing that. Kick them out. Kick them out. And I'm going to tell you this quick story about my dad, because I love him, man. I ran out of gas one time. And we were still harvesting tobacco. And when I walked into the turn down towards the barn, he said, "Where's your truck at?" I said, "Well, I ran out of gas." He said, "You ran out of gas?" I said, "I ran out of gas." He says, "Mm-hmm." He said, "Grab that can." We grabbed the can and threw it in the back of his truck. And back then, the gas was like 90-something cents a gallon. Yeah, I'm speaking back in the 80s. And he gave me 5 $1 bills out of his pocket. And he said, "You see this money here?" I'm speaking in this dialect. "I want you to give me my money the same way I give it to you. You hear?" He said, "Because this is my money. And I want you to know people ain't got to help." He said, "Didn't you know you needed gas when you went to work this morning?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, is you a damn fool? You should have told me last night that you needed enough gas to go home and come back." He said, "Now you out there making me a bad face in my community, and you're making yourself look bad because you didn't do what you were supposed to do." Do you see the irony of the story, people? A lot of things that we do, we can fix it amongst ourselves, but we don't try to do it, do we? Huh? "Oh, I thought I had enough gas to go there and come back." By the time I got up that man's pickup truck, I thought I was about this big. That's how bad he made me feel. I haven't ran out of gas since. Now our kids want to say, "Give me $100, Dad." That's the first $5 I think my dad ever gave me. He lent it to me. Now we say, "Well, I need a new car. Buy me a new car. And fill it up with gas when you give it to me." Oh, y'all ain't with me. We are giving them a crutch for life. I'm inviting you to kick the crutch away and make them young men and women and teach them the right way in life, that life isn't going to be easy. Back to farming. The hardest occupation known to man is farming. Oh, y'all didn't hear me. The hardest occupation known to man is farming. It's not like building this building. When I build it, it's over. Farming never ends. You can work 24/7 around the clock, and you got just as much work tomorrow as you did today. Hardest occupation known to man. And if you're a farmer, I want you to give yourselves a big round of applause, because we love you, this organization loves you, we respect you, we respect what you do, we respect your livelihood. Come on, we can do that now. Give a round of applause for your forefathers that are building us a South. They were sharecroppers, and they made it. They were slaves, and they made it. They were able to accumulate land after the Civil War, and they made it. And guess how they made it? Because you're here. You're here. And everything you do, then I'm going to stop talking about this, is a reflection on yourself and your forefathers. Oh, did you hear me? When you embarrass yourselves, like my daddy said, I made him a bad test, you also embarrass your forefathers. Oh, that hurt, didn't it? Not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying as a body of people, we can do a little bit better. Anybody agree with that? I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it out of love and patience and respect for you. And I do these interviews all the time. Do them on Fox. I even go on Fox television. They said, man, you go on Fox News? I said, yeah. I want to speak to those who don't agree with me too. I want to speak to the people who don't agree with me. And then after I do the interviews, guess what I do? I go out and read the million comments that they write about me after I do the interview. And they all make one statement about black farmers. Oh, we all know they don't farm. Oh, we all know they don't have any land. Oh, we know that they're lazy. It's all a myth. My wife will tell you, I get up every day and try to make my farm work. I ain't lazy. I get up every day and try to make that crop. I'm a farmer. I get up every day and try to represent my forefathers. I'm a farmer. Treat black and other farmers of color with dignity and respect, and you will see this country prosper. That's what's wrong with our country. We don't respect one another. I gotta have it all. Is the mentality in our country. For some, y'all know who I'm talking about. I want to have it all. I don't want you to have nothing. I'm here as an example that that type of treatment is over in this country. Y'all ain't with me. Native Americans need their land. They need access to credit and everything to go with their farming operations. Black farmers need their land and access to money and capital and everything they need to make their farming better. Hispanic farmers need their land and money to run it. Asian American farmers. We got room in this country for everybody. This mentality about all for me and none for you isn't working. And that's why our country is broken. That's why it's broken, people. And I'm going to talk a few minutes about debt relief. And then, Joni, I'm coming to you next, baby. Let me say this. They broke another promise to black farmers in this country. Every time they break a promise to us, they say, just accept it and we'll get it the next time, is what I hear from our leaders in Washington. We had 120% debt relief. 100% of your loans forgiven, 20% to pay the taxes. That's what was in the original bill. And then the same administration and the same Congress and the leadership in which I supported repealed it. They repealed it. They said, well, you know, boy, there's 12 lawsuits out there blocking the aid. Now, I've just explained to you for 15 minutes the struggle of your forefathers, how they overcame slavery, how they overcame Jim Crow, how they overcame sharecropping, and they didn't give up. You shouldn't give up either.
That's right. Woo!
Repealing it was the wrong signal at the wrong time in this country, and that's why we filed the complaint in federal court for every person who was eligible for debt relief. We're going to make the government stick by its original plan, 120% and not a damn dime less. It's okay to foreclose on your farm right now. We may stop doing that later, boy, but we don't need you to say anything. right now because it's midterm election. Justice doesn't come in alphabetical order in our country. If it did, it would start with African American and black. It don't start with those letters. We're saying to our country that you have to honor the commitment that you made, and we're not backing down this time. You know what it was, 40 acres and a mule, 150 years ago. Man, I brought my mule to Washington. I had a white mule. I got a white mule. They said, where you going with a white mule? You need a black mule. I said, Jesus rode into Galilee on a white mule. And I'm going to ride into Washington on my white mule as a reflection of the scripture that we're riding into Galilee for justice. I ain't crazy. I'm not crazy at all. If you do things by the book, you will get a textbook answer. Mark A, B, or C. If you do things in an unorthodox manner, you don't know what the outcome going to be. I named him Jesus. I named my mule Jesus. I named him Jesus. Laid in the bed at night and I told my wife I'm naming my mule Jesus. She said, you can't name him Jesus. I said, his name is Jesus. And I'm taking him to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to demand change and justice for blacks and other farmers of color in this country. Oh, y'all be saying something. I'm going to stop talking about it. And you know what? I'm passionate about this, and I want to say this too. Passion is a reflection of the pain and hurt by means of which that person feels. I'm hurting because every time we get a little justice, they want to pull the whole carpet from underneath you. And instead of you getting just that little bit, what the hell was 120%? The government gives away billions of dollars. We're giving away millions of dollars to Ukraine farmers, and they call it aid. If we want any justice in this country, they call it what? Charity. What's the difference between what you're doing in Ukraine and what you can do for farmers of color in this country? I call it aid. What they've done in the farmers for Ukraine, they provided equipment. They provided seed and fertilizer and operating money. The very same thing I've been asking for over 4 decades in the United States for black farmers, and we ain't got it yet. But they made it readily available and swiftly and quickly for farmers in Ukraine. But when there's aid for black and other farmers of color, you got to go to the federal registrar. We got to have an equity commission to examine and see how we're going to pay. Pay me the same way you paid the farmers in Ukraine, not a bit of difference. You can do it. Why is it so hard for you? I ask God this question sometimes. Why is it so hard for you and so easy for others? Equality means treating every person equal, with dignity and respect, and we're not there yet in America. But if you sit back and become complacent, you're going to get the same treatment that you've been getting for decades. But if you band together in numbers like you're in this room, and I hope they see the picture of the farmers and farmers and those persons that are interested in agriculture, farmers of color in this room, we can change things. Now I want to say this to the United States Department of Agriculture. Everybody isn't mad at USDA. Let me say that. There are some very good people at USDA that want to do the right thing. Yes, give them a round of applause. And they're going to be here today. I want you to greet them. Remember the first part of my speech? That's why I said the first part first and the last part last. I want you to treat them with dignity and respect and with patience and understanding. On the flip side of that coin, There are some bad seeds at USDA that need to go. The only way to bring about change is to address it, confront it head on, not in some under. Look here, man. I put it out there where you can get it. You may not agree with John's board, but you better well respect me. You better well respect me. And the same respect you give me, I'm going to give it to you. The very time that you don't have any respect for me, you better get out of my way, because I'll run over you like a Mack truck. You're going to get the very same treatment from me. That's where we are today. So I want to thank you all for coming. This is a welcome. I wasn't even supposed to get this off, but you know what? When the spirit sometimes hits you, do we have any religious people in here that know that have a relationship with God? When the spirit hits you, I had a host of other notes here that I wanted to talk to you about, but that can come later. I want to talk to you in a more personal, intimate type of way. The last time I was in Mississippi, I was traveling through here with an RV. I stopped at every little township and probably met some of the same faces here. I want to tell you that however difficult the struggle is, that you can't give up. Just because you don't have 2 wooden nickels in your pocket today, I want to tell you, don't give up. Just because your friends laugh at you today, and don't have any respect for you today, I want to tell you, don't give up. Keep your head up high. Put your hands in God's hands, and change is on its way. All right, we're going back to school now. Y'all ready? So get your pens and paper out and all that stuff. And we're going to feed you too, so we got some food coming. Let me tell you right now, ain't nothing more angry than a group of people who ain't been fed. Now, as my daddy would say, don't eat too much and get a case of it. Somebody said it. I didn't say it from the microphone. But just make sure that you get the mic, because we want you to stay and get the information. That's why I'm here. That's why these team of people are here. And that's why these speakers are here. They are here to help you. Can y'all give our speakers that's coming forward a round of applause? They're here to help you. And now we're going to bring up my good friend, Jordan. Would you like to introduce her? It's your sister. Come on. I'm going to get my wife to introduce this very marvelous lady. I'm going to give her a hug when it gets her. So y'all can't do that. I'm going to get my wife to introduce her because they have a very, very special bond and relationship.
Tanake, Tane Kara. Hello, good morning. My name is Kara Brewer Boyd. I'm the founding president of the Association of American Indian Farmers. I'm also the event program coordinator for the National Black Farmers Association. And some of you may know, I'm also John Boyd's wife. That's the hard part. But I think everyone
Speak up.
Can you hear me now? Okay, they're saying they can't hear me? Okay, we're gonna give me a little more volume then. Geek, geek. Y'all heard that, didn't you? So I'm an enrolled member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. My tribe is the largest tribe east of the Mississippi. And guess what? The government really screwed us over. The Lumbee Act of 1956 says you're Indian, you're Indian, you're Indian. But in the very last sentence, it says, however, because you're Lumbee, you're not entitled to the benefits any other Indian receives because of their Indian status. What? You mean you got an act of Congress that says every 25 times you're Indian, right? But in the very last sentence, it says you can't get anything any other Indian gets because you're Lumbee. My tribe for over 50 years has been trying to rectify that. We understand the struggle. And so when we had the Native American class action lawsuit known as Keep Seal. State recognized, non-federally recognized, federally recognized, all Native Americans were able to participate in that class action. But the problem that we have at USDA is the Office of Tribal Relations only services federally recognized tribes and members of federally recognized tribes. So we founded and started the Association of American Indian Farmers so that we could be a voice and advocate for all farmers. There's a class system, and when you start to divide people based upon class system, it's really not good. And so through the Association of American Indian Farmers, when I was doing the Keep Seal work, because unlike Black farmers, Native American farmers had $400 million left over in their settlement. Did you hear me? They didn't pay out all the money. In Keep Seal, they had $400 million, half of the settlement, okay, was left over. They anticipated 10,000 Native American farmers. They only had roughly about 5,000. So instead of doing a second round of applications like they did in Piglet 2 or Emerald Black farmers, for those late filers who said, hey, I didn't get an application, I didn't get a chance to apply, I missed the deadline, and they got $1.2 billion to pay more Black farmers, Native American farmers had $400 million and couldn't even get a second application. You know what they did with that money? They put it in a trust. Why is it that every time it comes to Native Americans, they want us to trust them, to put the money in a trust and to take care of us, right? So that money now, $400 million, is in a perpetual fund drawing interest, okay? And it only funds nonprofits, tribes, and universities. Money was there for discriminated farmers, couldn't get a dime. But now we have this organization, this trust, this Native American Agricultural Trust Fund, that now is the overseer of this money that will never run out because they draw more interest than they ever pay out. So through that process, I made a good friend, a sister, and a relative, Miss Jolene Whiteclay and her family. They belong to the Crow tribe in Montana, and I actually have a brother-in-law who's Crow, so the relationship was very rewarding to me because I had several friends there. But with their farm and their struggles, they're very aligned with Black farmers, Hispanic farmers, because we're all considered a minority. But if you put us together, guess what we are? We are the majority. We are the majority. If we come together. So American Indian Farmers, National Women Farmers Association, along with the National Black Farmers, because together we can win. And we've invited Jolene to come and bless our gathering.
Thank you. Kara, can you hear me out there? I'm going to try to talk as loud as I can. I want to let each one of you in here know that it wasn't a coincidence that you came to this meeting. It's not a coincidence, and you will find out for the next 2 days. You're very important in the life cycle of God. Every one of us in here in this room, you're important. And how I'm going to start off with this is that all of us experienced one of the hardest times in the past few years. I'll say 2 years, and that'll ring a bell. We have gone through Mother Nature's issues with weather. In the West, we experienced drought. We experienced water going down to where it was almost big lakes, famous lakes were gone. In the middle part of America, you encountered weather that was beyond anything you experienced, and they called it polar vortex. Then those of you who were on the eastern side of the United States experienced weather, rain, tornadoes. You experienced all hurricanes. Some of the farm fields that you plowed and worked all year were underwater. Those are kinds of things we experience. That's just one part of it. Then we experience health issues. Then we experience government, politics. They promised us something, they didn't give it to us. But on this meeting, if you have a cell phone, I want you to look up this particular chapter and verse in the Bible. We're going to base this chapter and verse in the Bible on this meeting. So if you have a cell phone, I want you to go to Matthew 11. Matthew 11. If you don't have a cell phone, write it down. It's Matthew 11, 28, 29, and 30. Give me a second. But this is what we're going to base this meeting and forward. We're going to stand on this verse because in the Bible it tells us that every scripture that's in the Bible is a promise. It's a promise to each one of us individually, our family and our children. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That's what we're going to stand on. In this cycle that I was talking about, each one of you, every single one of you, was very important in the process of life. You were out there in your fields producing food for the restaurants on Fifth Avenue, for the military so they can eat, for the elders so they can eat, for the little children so they can have milk and eat. You were very important in the cycle of God's life. You've got to consider yourself very important. The tomatoes you grew, the wheat you grew, the cattle you took to the market, every one of it was very important. We've got to give ourselves, we have to acknowledge ourselves. Give yourself credit. Don't be ashamed. Maybe we don't dress like the man who goes to Fifth Avenue and sells your product. But you're important because you're at the beginning. You're at the root of this cycle of food, and you're feeding the world. Think about that. You're feeding the world, and you're important. And we have to come together, and we're going to use this conference as a stepping tool. We're going to learn, and I want you, every single one of you, to pray with me when I pray to open up the ceremonies, because we're going to pray for everyone. You guys are going to be wherever you're sitting, and you're going to pray with me, because that's what God told me. He said, tell them to pray. Tell them to stand on word like this, because no matter how hard life can become, God promised us that He will take care of us. You put your burdens on Him. Take it off your shoulder and give it to Him. All right? I want all of you to bow your heads. Pray with me, and pray for yourself, and pray for your race, the Black, the Hispanic, the Native American. Let's pray. In the mighty name of Jesus. Lord God, all these people are important in this meeting. They're very important in the cycle of life that you chose for them. You chose to put inside of them a spirit to be a farmer, a rancher. You chose each one of them, and they followed. Now, We ask in your word, you promise that if we are saved, that our whole household shall be saved. Bring back our children that were on the streets. Bring them back. Put them in our fields and let them be proud of what you chose us to do, which is to feed the world. And Lord God, we are very, very trustful. We trust in you. We may not trust man, but we trust in you, Lord Jesus. And we lift your name up today. This is our meeting. This meeting is for each one of us that's in this room. And we pray for ourselves. Let us be involved. Let us ask questions. I ask that you will anoint every speaker today when he presents, that he will bring a tool for me, because I'm here to be involved because I trust in you, Lord Jesus. I trust in you, and I will always follow what you say. I respect you, Lord Jesus, and I give you all the praises and the glory, and I thank John Lloyd Jr., and I will thank Kara, because they are good Samaritans. They came and they're helping, and bless them too. Bless my children. Bring my family back. Get them off the street. Put them on the farm fields. Let's do this job for America. Amen.
Amen.
Jolene gave such a powerful prayer. She took the program and everything. The spirit, man. Let's give her a round of applause. What a beautiful.
Okay, is this you? Or we have the, okay, we have these. Okay, so we have FSA coming. FSA? Farm Service Agency? What's her name, Ms. Ford? Miss Linda Cronin. There you go. I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to get your name right. Let's give her a round of applause. Farm Service Agency. She's going to talk about FSA programs and services. Listen, take notes, and ask very clear questions, not statements, very clear questions. Let's welcome her. Come on up.
Good morning, everyone. What an exciting start of the day. It's kind of hard to follow the inspiration that we just all got this morning, isn't it? I want to start with my gratitude. Kara, thanks for inviting me to be here. Thank you. There's a lot of work that's going on, and I'm going to highlight some of the things that we're doing. But I do want to start with one thing. I'm reading this amazing book. I don't know if anyone has read this. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass. It's by Robin Wall Kilmer. And I love this. And you can replace the word garden if you want to with farm or agriculture. But this is so inspirational to me. Plant a garden. It's good for the health of the earth, and it's good for the health of the people. A garden is a nursery for nurturing connection. The soil for cultivation of practical reverence. And its power goes far beyond the garden gate. Once you develop a relationship with a little patch of earth, it becomes a seed itself. Let's spread those seeds. Today, I'm just going to hit a few things, a high level of what FSA is. I'm going to share with you some of the equity work that we've started. I'm going to talk about heirs property. I'm going to talk about some of our targeted equitable actions, give some office updates, and talk a little bit about beginning farmers and ranchers. Before I start, I just want to say that I've been with USDA for 31 years, Vermont, Virginia, working in the county office across the counter, all the way up to working in Washington, D.C. I've dedicated my life to the advocacy work. Even government people care. And I've worked with tribes, and I've worked with all communities across the nation to try to help increase access and support. And there's a lot of very dedicated colleagues at USDA that are doing the same exact thing. I came over to my office 3 months ago. My predecessor, Latrice Hill, was appointed as the first equities officer by the administrator and reports directly to the administrator. She's a Mississippi girl and a great friend. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on that. We do help American farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners invest in, improve, and expand agricultural operations. We provide farmers and ranchers with financial capital, risk management assistance, and recovery support in times of economic distress or natural disaster. Our friend here was just talking about the droughts out west, but I heard about the droughts here on the head right over here yesterday too. And now we got the heavy rains coming. So we support rural prosperity, improving the environment, and contributing to U.S. national security. Remember, national security, we need food, shelter, and fiber to stay safe. And you all contribute to that. And I want to personally thank you every day for that, because it's not easy work. Equity has become a priority at USDA, and there was an equity commission that was mentioned earlier that's working on analyzing things, and a lot of the agencies are also looking through to see what they can do to improve things. So I'm going to be here for 2 days, so I want to hear your ideas, so feel free to come up to me. We also I mentioned our equity work that we're doing within the agency and across the department. We're also doing work to strengthen our trust and our trust responsibilities with Indian country and with tribes. We've established in the Farm Service Agency a tribal equity work group, and we're looking at all the policies and procedures across all groups to see what we can do to improve and remove barriers. We're also going to be hiring 6 equity specialists to do work in our office. We're doing a lot of work to engage with stakeholders. I have it in the PowerPoint presentation. Maybe I can share that with Kara to send with everybody. There is a comment period out right now and under the 002, 007, to get feedback if we want to hear from you. We're also working hard to resolve edge property issues. There's various stages of those issues, from succession planning for families so that they know what's going to happen next, all the way up to loan programs to help farmers and ranchers resolve those issues. So we've got some cooperative agreements in place to try to help provide that necessary technical assistance. We also have a large grant program out right now, increasing land capital and market access for farmers and ranchers. And we're working on the food supply chain issues and also taxpayer education. Tomorrow, my administrator, Zach Ducheneau, who's been a passion for the equity work, and he will be here to talk to you about the IRA program that was mentioned earlier today. So in my office, we kind of have 2 teams. We have the Beginning Farmer and Rancher team, which is a department-wide initiative, but it's housed in the Farm Service Agency. We're doing a lot of work to help our young people not only get employment with jobs, work in agriculture and other things, but to expand that access to those valuable programs and services. And then the other part of the team focuses on the cooperative agreements, all the outreach, education, and technical assistance work. And then some of the targeted efforts we're working on, whether it's property, disaster, urban agriculture, access to land, and other tools. So I don't know if you all know this, but 27% of farmers are beginning farmers right now. And some of the same issues we all face in the agricultural community around land access, capital, getting experience, financial resilience, and other things. So we're working on all of those things and stand strong and committed and ready to move forward. So we want things to be accessible, inclusive, local, and we want to have full engagement. So with that, I think that's all I have to say. I know NRCS is sharing this time with me. I don't know, is the next person? It is Dennis Jones. Dennis Jones, are you in the room?
Dennis Jones, over there you go.
Here he is.
Thank you, Farm Service Agent. Let's give Dennis a round of applause as he comes up. Where you from, Dennis? Hattiesburg, man. This is a home club. Y'all can greet the man, this man from down here. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Come on now. Hey, look at him. Now you got it. That's how we do it. Dennis, thank you for coming, and I look forward to your comments.
Good morning. Good morning. As Dr. Boyd said, I'm Dennis Jones. I serve as Assistant State Conservationist for Field Operations for the Southern 24 counties of Mississippi. I bring you greetings on behalf of our Chief, Mr. Terry Crosby, and our State Conservationist, Mr. Kirk Reedus. I work for the United States Department of Agriculture under the Natural Resources Conservation Service, also known as NRCS. Before I get started, Dr. Boyd, I was listening to you talking. I appreciate the help you provided us when you said there are some very good people with USDA, and I consider myself one of them. We got a team of several of our guys from USDA are back there, and we'll be around throughout the day. But there are some very good people at USDA, and there are some very good things going on at USDA. I often, even as last week, go to talk to school kids at career days and even farmers, and do quite a bit of these seminars. And Dr. Boyd also said something that I like to say. I kind of said it in a different manner, but he said that you may not need a doctor today, but you will need agriculture. And agriculture is involved in everything that we do. One thing I ask students when I go talk to them, I say, name your 5 basic needs. And they start food, water, clothing, shelter, air. Every one of those are directly derived from agriculture. Not only is every one of those directly derived from agriculture, anything you can think of is directly derived from agriculture, be it an iPhone, a car, anything you think of comes from the earth. So what we're doing and what you are doing is very, very important. Some things I want to briefly talk about is our chief's priorities, some of the things that Chief Crosby has focused on, and some of the things that he has us focused on. And he starts off with equity, justice, and equal opportunity. And when we talk about equal opportunity, not only are we talking about USDA and NRCS programs, we're also talking about job opportunities and career opportunities. And I told y'all we start speaking to kids a lot in schools. Continue to encourage your children, grandchildren, and even some of you yourselves to look at careers in agriculture. There are a vast amount of jobs in agriculture. If you don't believe me, just tap into usajobs.gov and you can see them right for yourself. And look at the jobs under the United States Department of Agriculture. So we are looking for good people to help us and to carry the message and meet our chief's initiative. Another one is climate change. There is a lot going on, a lot of talk of climate change. Our agencies has received a lot of funds related to climate change. So you will see a lot coming out, and a lot of this dealing with trees and carbon sequestration and those type of things. So climate change. Urban agriculture. Urban agriculture has been big throughout the United States, but the chief has put a special priority on urban agriculture. Probably a year ago, we did not have urban agriculture in the state of Mississippi, but at one point in time, recently, we had 4 of them. We have 2 of them now. So that is a new trend, and we're gonna be focusing on urban agriculture. What can we do? We're talking about community garden, high tunnel houses, food deserts, providing food in those areas. Those are some of the areas that we're looking at focusing on with urban agriculture. Partnerships. Partnerships is huge, and I appreciate Dr. Boyd and the National Black Farmers Association for having us today. The partnerships, we're looking to build partnerships with people like the National Black Farmers Association and throughout your communities to work with you all and to do whatever we can to provide the assistance that's needed for farmers. There was approximately through the new, I'm trying to think, the IRA bill, I'm got the initiative. Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act, the agency received $20 billion, and that was just recently. $20 billion that's gonna help with our conservation working land programs. When I talk about working land programs, a lot of you may be familiar with our environmental quality incentives program, better known as EQIP. Our conservation stewardship program, better known as CSP. Our agriculture conservation easement program, better known as ACEP. All of those programs, these $20 billion is gonna go toward assisting with that. So we have money. We want you to have the money. The money does no good in our hands. We won't be able to get those funds out to you, the people, to assist you on your farms, ranches, whatever kind of agriculture operation that you have going on. One thing I always tell people, and you all know we assist with building fences, building ponds, putting in water facilities, and it gets a little deeper when we start talking about planting pollinator areas and doing snags and dens with the conservation stewardship program. But I don't like to get caught up in all the program names and everything that we do. We work for you. So what I like to tell people is, don't hesitate coming to that office. Anything that you're doing agricultural-wise, come to that office and let us know what you're doing and what you need from us. And if it's something that we can help with, we should be more than ready and available to help you with it. There's some things that we can't do. I know a lot of times it may be forest land cleared off that's going to go in the pasture. You want assistance planting grass. Like that may be something that we can't do. But even on the things that we can't do, we're there to provide assistance to get you to where you want to be. There is a way to do that. We may not be able to provide financial assistance, but we're also there for technical assistance. When we talk about technical assistance, that's just good sound advice from your farm. So before you do anything on your farm, I always encourage landowners to come talk with us and see what we have available. Because, like I say, it does us no good to hold the funds or not give them out. And as Dr. Boyd said, we have a lot of good people. But if just so happen you run across somebody you don't think that they're so good, don't hesitate to contact your state leadership. And the website was just updated about a week ago. And I know it's people from all over the country here. But what you can do, if you're looking for your state leadership, is go to Google and type in Mississippi NRCS or Alabama NRCS. And it's pretty readily available. It's a tab that says state leadership. You can click on there and find somebody and let them know what you're dealing with, and we'll be more than happy to assist you in rectifying your situation. But before I leave, I'll say this: we are the government, and we are here to help you. And like I say, if you don't feel that way, you can go on that website and find the leadership for your state and let them know what your problem is. But Dr. Boyd, thank you all for having me, and I'll close with what my state conservationists always say. We're the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Service may be last in our name, but it's our first priority. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna give her hands one more time.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. How far is that from here?
Hattiesburg, probably about
90 miles, I follow. Listen, so if farmers are interested in applying for EQIP, some of the programs or services that you offer, they need to find a closest office, and we explain that process, because we have some people from South Carolina and other states that came here from different states. And some understand NRCS, understand acronyms, understand how it works. And then we have some new faces in the audience that may not know anything about NRCS. Just give them a few baby steps before you go.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Boyd. And if you look in the back of your program, there is a 5 steps to assistance that will walk you through what you need to do in order to get assistance at our offices. One thing, it starts with just coming into the office. Don't be afraid to come into the office. Even if you don't know where your office is, you can get on that website or Google or anywhere, just Google it and they'll pull it up. Each state has a website. Like I say, the websites were recently redone to make it easier to operate for our customers. This should direct you right to your office. And if you don't know where your office is, do like people do all the time. I get called all the time. Somebody just pick up the phone book or whatever apparatus that they have and find USDA. If you call my office and I'm in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and say, where is my office located in New York? We'll go that extra mile to find that information for you. But it is readily available on our website. These 5 steps to assistance are in the program manual. One thing that we do, we work hand in hand with the Foreign Service Agency. And one thing that you have to have, and you'll see it on these 5 steps to assistance, is eligibility. And that's a lot of that's done through the Foreign Service Agency, where you're bringing in documents, getting your form set up with the form and track number. And all of this is free to you. It should not cost you anything. And there may be several steps that you have to take on the front end, getting everything set up, bringing in your deeds, copies of your maps. But I assure you, the steps that you take, the work that you go through, it's gonna be well worthwhile. I tell everybody, this is not free money. It's not free money, but it's the closest you'll ever get to it. It's the closest you ever get to it. And we're here, we provide assistance for crop land, pasture land, forest land, poultry operations. I missed anything? And those guys back there, y'all raise your hands. I got with us our urban conservationist, Mr. Tyree Harrington, Mr. Benjamin Allen, who is our local district conservationist here in Pike County, and Mr. Alan Ross, who is our area agricultural engineer technician. So they're here to help me, and y'all talk to us. If it's something that you're looking at doing, we can tell you today. If it's something that you probably can do for Mississippi for sure. Each state has some different things, but we're all under the same premises and work under the same concepts. So in general, we're the same, but you may go up into Minnesota, they may have something to do with snow collection. And we won't have that in South Mississippi. And I'm waiting for questions.
Any questions?
Anybody have anything?
Raise your hand if you got a question on how any of these programs work. Raise your hand. I want to ask a question on leasing land or something, leasing land or something like that.
Great question. He wants to ask about lease land. Is lease land eligible for the program? Yes, lease land is eligible for the programs. We will ask you to bring in a lease for the term of your contract. So if you're going to be doing a practice with us, you would have to bring a lease in, show them where you have a lease on that property. But lease land is eligible. And just speaking of lease land, air property, I know is also a major issue. We can work, there are some avenues, in some cases we can work with Foreign Service Agency. Our big thing is having a decision maker, someone who has an authority to sign on that property. So we work with Forest Service Agency to get that all set up. But yes, sir, lease land is eligible. You just need a copy of that lease to bring in, and it needs to be through the life of the contract.
What about the air property?
Air property, in some cases, it can be worked through, but we work with the Forest Service Agency to work through that. But we're getting better at working with our air property. The big deal about air property is we just have to have a clear decision maker and someone who has silent authority for that property.
Any other questions? Speak up.
Acreage. She asked how much acreage. There is no acreage limit. We, from a quarter acre on up, we work with, so there is no acreage limit. And we're even getting smaller, as I said earlier, we're going into urban agriculture, and some of those areas can be very small, so no acreage limits. As long as it's a farm and you can get it set up at the Farm Service Agency, we can work with it.
I have a question about for getting forward with equipment. Y'all assist with that?
We don't assist with equipment, but the Farm Service Agency has some programs that will assist with micro loans and those type things with getting equipment. So the lady that spoke prior to me, their agency, the Farm Service Agency, does have equipment programs. But you did make me think of something. There are, when you go in and sign up for these programs, you said beginning farmers. There are some different ways you can sign up. And beginning farm is one. Beginning farm is anybody who has farmed or 10 years or less. And the way we verify it is based off of a Schedule F. If you have a Schedule F within the last 10 years with no farm income or loss, you would be eligible for that beginning farm. But also, we are at the Black Farmers National Conference, socially disadvantaged. So if you're Black, Native American, Hispanic, you would fall, Alaskan, you would fall under that, what we call socially disadvantaged farmers. What happens with those categories? It gives you a bump. It gives you a little higher pay incentive on those practices that you're installing. So we have what we call base payments and historically underserved payments. You would fall under that historically if you fall into one of those categories as a minority. One of those historically underserved categories, which will allow you to get a little higher payment instead.
I have a question about this.
Yes, sir.
You guys provide bids on property, or you got to pay and have the bids yourself, and you got to
Good question. His question was about fencing. Will we pay to have fencing done before, or do you have to put fencing in yourself? Good question. So, when fencing can be a little tricky. In most cases, we're assisting with cross fences. So you would have to have that perimeter fence already established, perennial grasses on your fields, and we can go in and assist with cross fences, and water facilities, ponds, whatever else it may be. When you start talking about perimeter fences, the only case where we assist with perimeter fences, and we don't repair or replace fences, and I'm giving y'all Mississippi rules. Now, if you go in another state, they may tell you something different, but this is in Mississippi. We don't repair or replace fences, but when you talk about perimeter fences, we will do perimeter fences if you're going from crop land to pasture land. So to help you understand that, we want to go from a lower level of conservation to a higher level of conservation. Why is crop land lower? Because we're tilling that ground usually annually, and if you go to pasture land, you're not going to be tilling that ground annually. So we want to go to from a lower level to a higher level. But if like you cut trees down, that's like the highest level. You don't want to go from trees and then push it out and say we want to do pasture. So we couldn't assist with anything like that. So did I answer the question, sir?
Support. I wanted to ask a question. There's two 2018 Farm Bill and the 2023 Farm Bill that they're working on. Is there anything in that 2023 Farm Bill that deals with carbon tax for farmers that are raising trees?
Question is there anything in the 2023 Farm Bill that deals with carbon tax for people raising trees? And my answer is I can't answer that. I don't know. Don't know the answer to that. But if we get your information, we'll work fast. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What's the average turnaround time when you submit your application?
Y'all got some great questions, I'll tell you that. The average turnaround time when you submit your application. So let's be clear. Applications should be taken year-round, anytime. But sometimes you may feel like we've had your application for a year and you hadn't gotten the action that you think of. So speaking on Mississippi again, we had an application cut off, I think, of October the 17th, October the 20th, 28th, October the 28th, last week. I said application cut off, a cutoff for our first ranking. We don't ever cut applications off. Never cut applications off. So if you signed up November the 2nd, you'll go into the second ranking pool. And if we don't get to the second ranking pool, you could theoretically have waited a year for your application to be possibly funded. But if you signed up, if the sign up deadline was October 28th, and you signed up on the 27th, you're in that first ranking pool. We're working on those right now to see, get them right and see what's going to be funded. So it could be a day waiting period to go through the process, or it could be a year. But if any time, don't hesitate to call the office. And I tell people, even if you call every day, we should have somebody there to answer the phone and answer your questions. So don't hesitate to call us.
I would say, as I'm giving technical assistance and advice to people with NRCS, the question to ask when you're putting in an application is, when is the next batching period? Do you guys hear that? You ask, when is the next batching period? Correct? Okay, if you guys can kind of keep it down, because the people in the back are having difficulty hearing. We're trying to get the volume adjusted, make sure everyone hears the information. And I want to go back to FSA that was here before. And in order to participate in NRCS programs, you must first have what? A USDA farm serial number, okay? And a farm serial number just identifies you as the owner and operator of a tract of land. There isn't a minimum, well, there is now, it's like a fourth or a tenth of an acre. Forgive me, I usually have the rule displayed. But you need to go in. A lot of you have inherited land and maybe taken over a farm operation. So what you need to do is take a copy of your photo ID, social security number, and your deed into the county FSA office. Ask them for a farm serial number. If there isn't one on there, they'll create you one. If there's already one for that tract of land, they're going to update the record and you're going to be listed as the owner and operator. Why is that important? It's important because with a farm serial number, you now can nominate and vote for members of the county committee, okay? So it's very important that you get on grid with FSA. Get that farm serial number, because you can't come to NRCS and apply for any of those programs if you don't have what? A farm serial number. And it is free, okay? And I tell people it's like this. It's like putting a 911 address on your property, on your farm. You know, if you buy a vehicle and you don't ever take the title to DMV, you're not going to get a tag. They're not going to know if your vehicle's stolen and they find it, who to go find, who to locate, right? So USDA doesn't know that you're farming a piece of land if you don't have what? Farm serial number, okay? So I wanted to make sure, because I was supposed to do a talk on USDA 101, and that really is the first and foremost priority, is making sure that individuals have those farm serial numbers. because that is the first step, okay?
And for the record, for the young man who asked the question about perimeter fencing, I'm trying to fix that in the farm bill. That's a very big issue that he raised.
job to get you the products that you're looking for. Like
Marketing Service, Federal Grain Inspection Service, Associate Deputy Administrator, Andy King. Let's give him a round of applause. Andy. I named this guy 6'9". I didn't know his name was wrong, but I named him 6'9". And I named you 6'9". Come on now. Come on, 6'9".
Again, I'm Andy King. I'm the Associate Deputy Administrator, based out of DC, but for the past 15 months, I've been helping the New Orleans field office work through some issues just due to retirements and attrition, everything like that. So, anyways, we started in 1976 after the grain scandals happened, which was where we had incidents of shippers were adding water to grain, and we had weights that were totally off. We had people adding debris to grain. And so the Congress passed a law that says, hey, everything that's every grain that's exported out of this country has to be overseen by the Federal Grain Inspection Service. And so what we do is we provide uniform sampling, we provide uniform inspection, we certify weights. We also do if a farmer wants to bring in their sample, we'll grade that, give them a quality certificate. And so we have offices in New Orleans, we have offices in Portland, we have offices in Toledo, and we have offices in Houston. But we also have official service providers all throughout the country, which are private or state entities that meet our standards, and they're certified by us to provide official certificates as if they're the same as the federal agency. And so here it's the Mid-South and Mississippi, it's the state of Louisiana, over in Louisiana, the state of Alabama. And so some of the tests you can have run are mycotoxins. We do those a lot for farmers that want to check for aflatoxin in their corn, or vomitoxin in their wheat. We also work with the FDA quite a bit, and that means if an aflatoxin is above 20, we have to report that to the FDA. Otherwise, that ship cannot leave the country unless the buyer and seller agree to it. Animal filth, that's another common issue we'll get, where we have to report that to the FDA. We have to get it signed off by the FDA before that corn, wheat, soybeans, whatever, can be used. And so we have a vast partnership with FDA, APHIS as well. We work a lot if there's insect infestations. Let's see, I think of some other things that you guys might be interested in. Scale testing, we do that. do a lot of, everything at the export is obviously certified by us when it comes to scales, but we also do domestic. So say a local grain elevator wants to have their scale certified by us, we can do it. So that's really the high level overview for what we do, but I wanted to open it up to any questions you have.
Questions? There's one question in there about grain and all this stuff. How many people in there grain farmers? Grain farmers. There's one back there, it's a grain farmer. You got a question for him? No questions. Grain farmers? Okay, let's hear it.
I'm not a grain farmer, but I do have a question, sir. First, I want to thank you for being here. But my question is, I live in Southwest Mississippi, where we are living over the Tuscaloosa oil shale, and they have been doing a lot of fracking, and they have oil wells on Caucasian property. So that's leaving our property in predicaments where we're not even sure if we can even afford on top of this land. So if you cannot address my question, we'll be glad to speak to you over to the side. That's what we're dealing with here in Mississippi.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to you.
Thank you.
You have questions? Any other questions for the speaker? All right, thank you, 6'9". Give him a round of applause. And our next speaker is expanding broadband internet access and adoption for rural Black farmers and families. Nicole Lazine, Vice President, External Affairs, Charter Communication. She here? Should be here somewhere. Charter Communications. Somebody go find her, and I got some sad people out here, go find the next speaker. But while she's coming up, I just want to circle back on a couple of comments that we spoke about earlier. One, having patience, right? You know, Black folks ain't got no patience, do we? Up, moving around, talking over top of people. Have some patience. If you have patience, what? What did I say earlier? You'll get what you want at the end of the result. Is that not what I said earlier? I'm saying these things because we don't have patience. Have some patience, relax. Some of us probably been out of school like I have 40 years. But you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to learn, people. And guess what? If you don't know, they know, these presenters know, these speakers know, but you don't know. And like that brother who was up here from NRCS says, we got a whole lot of money. But if you don't know how to apply that whole lot of money to your farming operation, guess who's hurting, people? You. And I'm going to make this statement, and I don't want anyone to take it out of context. White farmers are already getting this money. Oh, y'all didn't hear me? They're getting 99% of all the money. I'm here to say, you got to start getting it too. When these sign-up periods become available, sign up within the sign-up period. So that sign-up period, like that brother said over there with that on, I think he said something about October 28th or something like that. One of the sign-up periods was. Don't come on November 4th saying you're going to sign up. Be within the period of time. Okay, like my daddy says, do what you're supposed to do, and they do what they're supposed to do, you'll get it. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then you're supposed to raise a red flag. But if you can't come after the deadline on anything, and then say, you know what, they mistreated me because They told me I couldn't come in. No, they didn't. They told you to come in before the 28th, and you didn't do it. Do what we're supposed to do, and then if it doesn't happen, as a body of people, which is today the what? National Black Farmers Association, we can inquire on your behalf why it didn't happen. But if you don't apply when they tell you to, within those specific time ramifications, there's nothing we can do. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's where I'm going with that. And I would like to say this to every agency, especially that came out from the United States Department of Agriculture. Like the brother said, there's some good folks there. But I would like to challenge the Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Vilsack. He's the longest serving agriculture secretary in United States history. Since we formed the National Black Farmers Association, every agriculture secretary has addressed our national body, which today is who? All of you. Secretary Vilsack hasn't done that. He served 2 terms under the Obama administration, and now 1 term under the Biden administration. And for those persons within the USDA, you need to let Secretary know that Brother Brewer was at the microphone and says, you need to find your way down to the National Black Farmers Association conference and address these farmers too. Thank them for being here. I think it shows that we have great people. But from the top, I would like to see the Secretary at least accept one of our invitations that I extend to him every year that we do these annual conferences, to actually show up. You know, he wants to show up by video, and I didn't want that this year. I wanted them to show up in person. And I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody to get mad with me. I want you to show up like you show up for the Farm Bureau. I want you to show up like you showed up for the National Farmers Union. We're stewards of the land too. Black farmers and Native American farmers, you need to show up here too. So I feel like I had to say that because it doesn't send the right signal to a body of farmers that the Secretary is sworn in to address, serve all farmers. Then you know we have this annual event every year, the first weekend in November. We've been having this conference for 32 years, the National Black Farmers Association. And guess what, people? I'm proud to have founded this organization. So you're looking at the founder of the National Black Farmers. I founded this organization along with Linwood Branch, John Moses Martin, Sylvester Lauren, all now deceased, but pioneers in the Black Farmers movement. The Black Farmers is a movement, and it has been a movement. It's an unrecognized movement in history. What you hear about in history, you hear about voting rights and the movement for voting rights, all of these other things, equality and women's rights and all of these other national fights. But what's left out of the topic is the fight for the Black farmers. You have to let your children know the story of the Black farmer in this country. The absolute oldest occupation in history for Black people on American soil is farming. Whether it was by forced labor, from slaves to sharecropping to Jim Crow to free persons after the Civil War, and Abraham Lincoln freed us. We have been stewards of the land. And it was Black farmers who housed our civil rights leaders. Martin Luther King, when he came down from the South, man, he wasn't staying in a hotel. He was at the inn. He was staying on farmers' farms. He was going from farm to farm. And they were cooking for him and housing him on farms in the South. These are stories that are left out of the American history and out of Black history. We don't even tell them ourselves. Like this beautiful lady said this morning, be who you are and be proud of who you are. You said it best in that prayer. You need to be proud of who you are. You know, and I gotta say this, my parents and forefathers grew up, we didn't have a whole lot. We didn't have a whole lot. I came up with outdoors toilets and no running water in the house, people. That's where I came from. I came from scars on my belly. I'm not just here standing before you as somebody who ain't, man, I plowed a mule. What does that tell you? A mule to a black man wasn't just transportation. A mule to a black man was his family. They tied him outside. They got up and fed him and dressed him. And I asked my grandfather, I said, man, why are you getting up dressing the mule up every day and hooking him to the wagon? Because I got to go somewhere. I want to be ready. I want to look like me. The mule was a reflection to the black farmer and his family. It wasn't just some animal. He was part of the family. You worked with him. He was transportation. All of these things. We have to tell our children that history and don't leave it up to somebody else to try to tell your story and your history, because you're not going to get that in public schools, people. You're not going to get that in public schools. We've lost a lot of things. How many people in this room know how to can? There you go. We got some people who know how to can. We got some people who know how to make corn liquor too. You're lying if you say you don't. We got to teach those traditions to our children so that you can pass on that knowledge and wisdom to your children. How many people got grandparents and they died with your whole family tree? They knew who everybody was, and then the grandparents died, and the children ain't got a clue about who they even related to. Are y'all with me? But if you teach your children your history, how do you spell history? His story. That's how you spell history. His story. If you teach your story to your children, your history will pass on. If we don't do that, we have failed as a body of people. You know what happens? I call it move up south. So many of this past generation moved away from farming, didn't they? Man, I ain't never going back to the farm. I don't pick no more cotton. I ain't never going back. You've left the most valuable thing that you're ever going to have in your life when you left that land. And you left it unattended. Oh, don't get mad with me. Moved up south. Hey, look here, I call it up south. That's New York City, Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, all of the things we thought we were going to be doing a whole lot better. And as I said earlier, we try to move back home. All we got is a raggedy car. We ain't even got gas to make it back home. Oh, I was doing good, but you know, I became pressed up against it in between jobs, man. If you had stayed on that farm, oh, y'all ain't with me. If you had stayed on that farm and done a little something and had a public job and passed on that generational wealth to your children, they would have 5 acres in the country to build a house on. Oh, y'all ain't with me. This ain't got nothing. What I'm telling you right now ain't got nothing to do about the government. It got to do about me and you right now. We got to do better. And we can do better about teaching our children about the value of land. Don't tell them to look down on the farm. I don't want nothing to do with the farm. I ain't no farmer. You don't want nothing to do with the farm, but you need somewhere to live. You don't want nothing to do with the farm, but you get ready to eat. The farm is everything. Teach them how important the farm is. in the country, guess what that farm means? It's an extension of you. If you told me what county you were in and your last name, I can find your farm. I promise you I can. I can ride to that county, never been there in my life. And I said, look here, man, you know the Wayne Jones farm, that Jones farm? Where's that at? Yeah, it's over there on Harris Mills Road over there at the end, and go down there and take a left. We identify ourselves in the country by the farm in which we were raised in. Oh yeah, and then who are your people? I'm the Harris family. We on the other side of it. Oh yeah, I know the Harris family. Yeah, I know where the farm is too. Don't lose that connection with the land. I just feel like I had to say that again. It ain't always about the money. And Granddaddy Thomas said, you know what? I can't leave my PhD to my 12 children, but I can leave my poor old raggedy farm to my 12 children. Oh, that's heavy, ain't it? You can go to school all your life, and your educational status is non-transferable, but your land is. The land is transferable by deed of trust. And guess what we do, people? Yeah, you know, my family had some land. We had 500 acres. Did you have or do you have? Whose name is on the deed? That's who owns the land. If you want to know who owns the land, who's paying the taxes, and whose name is on the deed, everything else is hearsay, people. Make sure you pay your taxes. If they ain't got nothing to do with the government, close your ears. You got to pay your taxes. Pay them taxes. I don't want to pay mine. I pay too many. I'm going to pay my taxes. But if you want to own the land, you've got to pay your taxes. Are y'all with me? I'm talking to you in layman terms. I don't want to talk underneath anybody or over top of them with all these big fancy words. If you don't pay your personal property taxes on your farm, they will sell it in these counties. And a lot of blacks lost land that way. We came home but what happened to the farm? I thought George was paying. George wasn't paying no taxes. But when this happened, we become so disconnected from the land. Get reconnected with the land in your community and teach your children about the farm. And guess what? If you got some kids, I want you to put them in the car. Put them in the car, drive to the farm, and I want you to walk the farm with your children. This is the property line. Starts over here eastbound by a creek and over here northwestbound by some trees and the oak. Show your children the property. Yes, I'm talking some heavy stuff here. I bet you ain't even showed your children the property line, have you? And guess what? When you die, the white guy's gonna put him in, I'm saying it. The white farmer gonna put him in the truck. He goes, they ain't so land, don't land run over here. I don't know who told you that. They can't read a map. They can't read a map, and they can't read a deed, and they can't show you a property line because we ain't showing. Oh, I'm going right there. We got to do better. My daddy taught me how to read a deed. He showed me how to read a plat, and he showed me how to read a survey. Get in here, boy, let me show you where this line go down through here. It go down through here, and he'll take a can of spray paint. He'll say, shh. Here's a line here. Shh. Here's a line here. I know with my property, the things that I'm telling you are things that my daddy said to me. So I ain't going away from here. You don't know where your property line is. But how many of us are guilty of that? And then we leave with no will. Oh, I'm going there too. They're talking about heirs property. The government can't straighten out heirs property for you. You got to straighten it out for yourself. Yes. I don't need the government to tell me I got to do better with my brother. You ain't got no business dying with no will. And don't get your children in the room. One of them gonna say, "You done more for Susan than you ever done for me." You're gonna have to listen to them. Put them all at the table and pick the one that's going to be the best steward of the farm and feed it to them before you leave here. Now the rest of the assets I'll divide with the other 11 children. But Earl is the farmer, and I'm going to leave the farm itself to Earl. Doesn't mean I love the 11 children any less. I'm doing what's best for the farm. Don't divide it up and say, I got 100 acres, and I want each one to do all the same, I'm gonna give them all 10 acres. It's the wrong thing to do, because now you're taking that farm out of farming production. Oh, y'all ain't listening. You're taking the farm, the 100 acres, out of farming production, and now you said, because I got 10 kids, the other 9 are gonna be good stewards of the land, and before you close, the other 9 done sold it to the guy he didn't want to have it in the first place. Leave the family farm to the child. If you ain't got no children, go out and find a niece and nephew, somebody with the same name, Jones and Harris, as you got, and carry on the family legacy. Take care of the land, and the land will always take care of you. And you always hear him say, well, I sold the farm, but you know I'm making good money, and when I come back home, I'm gonna buy some more land. When you see the land prices that are waiting for you at home, you're gonna fall through the roof. The very same farm that they bought for you for pennies on the dollar, they want millions of dollars for that farm. You ain't gonna get it back like that. But if you hold on now, you know that old spiritual song, you gotta hold on. You have to do these things, and we as a body of people have to do better at becoming stewards of the land and passing on generational wealth to our children. Money isn't everything, but that land is. That land is everything. I'm gonna stop right here. Is my staff back there? Somebody go find the next speaker. The next speaker is Charter Communications. Anybody in from Charter Communications? Abigail, where's Charter Communication at? Y'all get up back there in time. Y'all tighten up. I love you. Charter Communication is next. And we're going to who? Come on up here, Miss Brewer. You know your husband had that. Here. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing here?
Okay. Can you hear us, Finian?
Yes, I can. How are you? Great to see you.
I'm gonna have to turn up the volume. We're having some IT issues, my apologies, but we're gonna get through this the best we can.
No problem. Great to see you both. Am I speaking to people
on? Y'all settle down, and after the speaker, we're
Abby,
gonna
can you turn the volume
get y'all some food
Give
and
us
everything.
1 second, Finian. We're gonna turn
But
up the
what I tell you,
volume.
I'm gonna feed you too, right? Just don't eat too much. Just don't eat too much. They say you gotta bend over after lunch. That's what my daddy always said.
Kara,
don't eat too much when you can't bend over.
did you get the video? Are you going to start with the video?
Yeah, I'm not going to start with the video. I'm going to show it in a little bit when we get our screen up, but we're going to let you speak to everyone, okay?
Oh, but we don't have no screen right now?
No.
Okay,
So
great.
we'll
So
just let you greet everyone.
I'll just be really brief then. How are you, John?
Good mic.
Why don't you turn it around so they can see his face and then hold the microphone up there?
Hey, look, bear along with us because listen, we ain't got all that sedated technology.
We do.
Oh, we do have it.
Yeah, but down here, because of the building and the structure, our Wi-Fi isn't big enough.
Wi-Fi is something that isn't.
Hi, folks. This is
right here. He's gonna make a few comments. Y'all keep it down now. Hold tight a minute here.
Right here.
Oh, right here, sir. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, folks. It's a great honor to speak with you today. I wasn't able to make it in person. I'm currently at the University of Tennessee. Going to be speaking here in just a few minutes. Can you hear me okay?
Give us a second, we're gonna turn the mic up.
Okay.
You want to turn it up?
Can you turn it up?
Hello, testing, testing. Testing one. Let me know when that sounds okay.
Okay.
Testing one, testing two.
Hold on a second, I think they're plugging you in now.
I only have small AV. I don't have an AV. Just a, okay.
Hey, Kara Boyd, if we want to do this tomorrow, that's totally fine. I can make that work tomorrow if that's easier. Yeah? I can't hear you now. Can you all hear me? You can hear me. Do you want me to, I'm gonna, just give me a thumbs up if you'd like me to speak, Kara. Okay, hi folks. My name is Finian Makepeace. I'm the co-founder of an organization called Kiss the Ground. You might have seen a film we made called Kiss the Ground on Netflix. It's about regenerative agriculture. A little bit later in the program today, you're gonna watch a teaser for a campaign that was launched on May 17th called Regenerate America, Soil is Our Common Ground. Some of you might be catching on or aware of leaders in the field of regenerative agriculture are bringing their message to the lawmakers who decide how the funding of the next farm bill goes. We have been working with a coalition of over 100 groups, farm groups, organizations, businesses, and many leaders in this field, including yours truly here, the Boyds, to create a coalition that represents the regenerative agriculture movement. And we've been bringing and voicing this to the folks in DC with multiple visits. We've met with over 30 members of Congress, specifically those in the House and Senate Ag committees. And we're really excited about the momentum that regenerative ag has, and especially how we together can make sure that farmers are going to have access to the training, the knowledge, and the tools and equipment, and even the advantage to begin farming in a way that helps to rebuild soil, much more connected to and utilizing indigenous knowledge and a bunch of knowledge that has been pushed aside, especially in certain cultures' histories, that was much more a part of how farming was, bringing these systems back into presence, into what was supported and is funded through the USDA. So regenerative agriculture is really catching on. This is fundamentally about agriculture that is helping to rebuild, regenerate soil as you're farming. Includes things like no-till, cover crops, intercropping, including much more biodiversity, doing planned rotational grazing so that you're actually helping increase your biomass while decreasing your input cost. A big part of this is the economics. How are farmers who are already struggling watching their input costs go down and being supported to have their input costs go down as they're seeing their yields continue to rise, as well as regenerating, rebuilding their ecosystems. So Regenerate America is a campaign. We want to see all of you included and connected to this campaign. At its core, this is saying, how do we move the folks who are representing this idea to make sure their voices are loud and clear in DC. We're already seeing quite a lot of support coming through both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats really showing up and seeing that this is good for farmers and good for communities also that have been left out and pushed aside. And that's where, as a coalition, we think it's incredibly important to show strength and diversity, but also to stand behind the farmers, make sure their voices are always being delivered front and center whenever these conversations are happening with the staffers, with the lawmakers in DC. For those of you who know, the principles of regenerative agriculture are really starting to catch hold. And that's why throughout all farming groups that are leading this conversation around the United States, we want to make sure we can help bridge that with the leaders who've been making sure that the training of regenerative agriculture is more accessible, make sure that folks who want to get this implemented into their operations can. And the Boyds are leading on that, and several other folks are leading on making sure, as the conversation of regenerative agriculture accelerates, we're not leaving anyone behind, and we're actually pushing to make sure those who have been left behind in other times and eras are actually brought front and center to make sure that as regenerative agriculture takes hold across the United States, that everyone is getting an equal part in playing that tremendously important role to rebuild our soil, sequester carbon, restore our biodiversity, replenish our watersheds, make sure we're resilient to flooding and drought. All of these things happen when you regenerate your land through regenerative agriculture. This is obviously just an incredible opportunity right now. If you go to regenerateamerica.com, we encourage you to sign up, but also to read the year-long process it took to make sure that the policy priorities that we're pushing forward do represent a very much a whole portion of the regenerative agriculture movement. So we're strongly encouraging you to go to regenerateamerica.com and to start participating in that. And we'd love to connect with you on that later. But I think you're going to see a clip later today when they get the projector screen up and running. And please feel free to connect through John and Kara, Dr. John and Kara there, but also reach out to us. My email, if you want to connect on this, is finian@kisstheground.com. Finian is F-I-N-I-A-N. We're an organization that now is really helping to tell this story and maximize the ability for regenerative agriculture to take hold. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm sorry I had a slideshow presentation here today, but I guess for another time, we'll make sure that these slides, maybe I can send them to Kara and John and make sure they get sent around to you guys if you want to get more in depth with that. But I really appreciate the time to be here, and I really appreciate that this conference is happening, and look forward to connecting with you all more in the future, hopefully in person. So thank you, Kara, and looking forward to talking with you all soon.
Thank you, Finian.
Excellent, Lord.
We may have to take a slight break.
I'm supposed to be hold on 1 second.
Hi, Nicole. Let's see here.
Okay, while she's plugging in the next speaker,
Okay, Nicole. Hi.
yeah, she got it hooked up here.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, just give us 1 minute. We're trying to get your visual up, okay?
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, she said give her 5 minutes. Are you learning a lot today? Yes, that's right? You know, that's the most important thing, you know, the
Hello.
learning process. The learning process sometimes can be boring too.
Kumar from Plastics?
Yeah, I went to school. I mean, sometimes you get bored, you know. I used to teach in the classroom, right? I got burnt out, you know. But sometimes you got to take some time and listen and do what you can to get what you can out of the actual information. Now, how many of y'all are generational farmers? Raise your hand. Man, let's give a hand for the generational farmers here. That's beautiful. Generational farming means, and I got this from this 80-year-old farmer who was in line, and there was a young, close your ears to us today, a young student that had just began her career at the United States Department of Agriculture. And the farmer asked the young lady how old she was. I think she said she was 28. And he says, "You probably been in school a long time, and they taught you a lot of things." He said, "I'm 80 years old. I've lived 3 times longer than you have. I've experienced 3 times more longer than life. and some things I probably know 3 times more than you do. So a generational farmer is someone who's learned about farming through their forefathers, to learn different skill sets about farming. People, that is educational. You know, that's what education is. So living and doing these things by experience is also part of the education process that, again, we have to do better at passing that information on to the next generation of farmers. The average age of the black farmer is 61 years old. Did y'all hear me? The average national age for a black farmer is 61 years of age, which means what? We're in trouble. We need more young people to become farmers and continue the rich history of farming. So if you have some children that, like Jolene said, don't give up on them. Keep working on the next generation of farmers. Don't give up on them just because they say, you know what, I don't want to be a farmer. I thought I was going to be an athlete, like every other young black man in this country. I thought I was going to play basketball, football, or baseball. And guess what? When I wasn't good enough, I quickly found my way back home to the farm, because we had a going business. And I said, well, you know what? I always got the farm. I can go somewhere else and get another part-time job. I can continue the rich history and legacy of farming. That's what you have to teach your children. All we see now about farming is what? Negativity, isn't it? Isn't it? Or we losing our land, and foreclosing on us, all these things. Yes, all of those things are happening. But for the next generation of farmers, you have to court them early, put them in the tractor early and show them about farming. Ride them around in the tractor, show them the ability and this process of how food is grown in this country. We have to do a better job with that. Some of our kids live in the house with us and we're farming, and they don't even know how to grow a garden. Am I telling the truth? But they got a car. They got a car that we paid for, probably. And you're paying the insurance for it. Teach them how to garden as well. Teach them. Just like we talked earlier, you know, about going to church and all this stuff. Church for me as a kid was not an option. It was mandatory. I could stay after 2 o'clock in the morning if I want. One knock on that door for my dad. You ready? I ain't tell you to stay out there all night long. You got to come on here. So you can stay out till 2 o'clock, but you were going to church on Sunday morning. And you're just going to listen to that screaming minister all for these couple hours, and you're going to nod your head on that and fight through it. But we also have to make our children understand the ability to raise a garden in this country. At least know how to grow some food. So when they're asking for $20 for gas, tell them when you complete this class about this garden, I'll give you $20 for some gas. Right now, I ain't gonna do it. So don't be afraid to tell them no as well. So we're facing extinction based on these national numbers. But I would like to say this. How many of y'all really report to the census? I do, because I know what it means, but a lot of
Not sure what just happened.
Yeah, I seem to have lost video feed.
people that's still a farmer. That's still a farmer and a landowner. If more of us will report to the census, you could really see that there probably is more than 50,000 farmers. 116,000 people on the mail list, 90,000 were in touch about the annual meeting that you're sitting in right now. So there's a lot more that don't identify as farmers, but also own land and timberland and stuff like that. So I would like to encourage you to fill out that census package when it comes in. What does that do? That makes it easier for people like me who tell members of Congress why you're important. If I'm not able to show those numbers in this district, that member of Congress may not be amenable to take more action for you. But if I have those numbers, those hard numbers, there are 1,100 black farmers in your district, here, the counties that you're in. Here's what they grow. Information is powerful, and it helps grease the skids on getting things done, like that perimeter fencing that brother wants. If I'm able to say these are the people in the national body, and this is what we're looking for, this is what we wanted, we have more power and to make those changes in this country. And I would like to talk to politics while I'm setting this up for about 1 minute. Politics isn't just Republican and Democrat. You need both if you're going to get anything done. I've got 4 significant bills passed in the House and Senate, and I had to have some Republicans to get it done too. You need both parties, let me say that. Whether you agree with their policies or not, eventually somebody has to step across the line and cast their vote in support of that measure that you're trying to do. And you have to be able to do that if you're a good lobbyist. A lobbyist is nothing in the world but a good talker. Skilled talker that can convince 400 plus members in the House and 100 plus members in the Senate to do something better for you that would benefit you. So what lobbying is, they give you another detailed stuff. I don't go on a bunch of booths, I can tell you all about it. We have to become more involved in the political process. So y'all listening to me here? Yes. You have to become more involved in the political process. You have to. This is midterm election. Do you know who you're voting for in the next couple of days? Do you know what candidates are running in your area that's going to make liable decisions for you and your family? We need to know these things. Where they stand. Do they support 120% debt relief? You need to be calling these guys now and asking them. Okay, you're running for office. Do you support 120% debt relief for 16,000 plus black families? Ask them that question. And if they start double talking, ask the other guy. That's what we have to do by understanding the political process and how this works. The only thing that ain't political in our country, people, is guess what? This land that I'm standing on. Land ain't political. When I grow that crop, it doesn't ask me if I'm Republican. When I grow that crop, it doesn't ask me if I'm Democrat. The land asks me, can I farm? And mostly, I don't know a bad black farmer in this country. Linwood Brown said, Sylvester Warren told Secretary Dan Glickman that he was a master farmer. I want you to listen to this story very clearly. He said, he told the Secretary of Agriculture under Bill Clinton in the Secretary's cage that he was a master farmer. And Secretary Glickman said, I've never heard of a master farmer. He said, what's a master farmer? He said, well, that's a black man that can farm with no damn money. And then do it again next year. He said, that's what a master farmer is. Many of you are master farmers and don't even know it. You're out there competing with the guy across the road. You know, when I was young, man, I was on fire. Anybody who's young boy 30 years ago, they'll tell you. Now, I'm nice to you, but now I love you guys. I'm trying to work with you and make it happen. 30 years ago, man, you would have pulled your coat on top of your head, man. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm saying that because we need friends. And as my daddy taught me, he said, John, the older you get,
the shorter the call list is of your friends. Or when you're in college and in high school, you got 25, 30 friends you're talking to, aren't you? Oh yeah, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend. And my dad says, the older you get, the less and less people call and check you and see how you're doing. The less friends that you have. So by the end of the road, the young lady or the young man that's still calling you is truly your friend. I'm saying this because you need good friends to get anything done in the United States of America. It doesn't happen by itself. You know, we were slaves. There were some good white folks that helped us get to freedom too, wasn't it? We didn't get there by ourselves. There were some white people that took us in when we got the freedom and said, well, how's these brothers over here so we can figure out how we're going to help them? Everybody isn't dead. And I want to say this to white farmers. If you're out there farming and you qualify, I want you to get every dime you got coming to you. And I don't get it anymore. What I'm simply saying is, for blacks and other farmers of color, we want the same as. Those two words, the very same as. Period. Nothing needs to come after that sentence. Same as. So if you're getting the same as everyone else, guess what? You have a better chance at succeeding in your farming operation. When you're not getting any, and my competitor is getting all, it's going to be hard for me to compete with you, even if I'm like Sylvester Warren, a master farmer. It's still hard for me to compete with you. That's what I've been fighting to change in this country. I'm not fighting white farmers. I want to be very, very clear on that. I'm not fighting them because guess what? In America, white farmers going to get the same way they've been getting. So do I want that fight, or do I want to fight over here where I say, I want to get mine too? Because they're not going to stop getting. All these programs you heard about, they're getting them. They're participating. You can look at the numbers and they support my statement on that. I'm not mad at them. I'm simply saying we got to get the same aspect. You ready, Ms. Board? Okay, Ms. Board's going to tell you about the next speaker. Well, this you up there. You look pretty good at this. And I want to say this again for those of you that came in late. Carol worked on this conference day, night. Little Abigail here sitting in the front. She's like my another daughter now. They work day and night on this conference on putting in the details. I'm standing in front of you, postcards and stuff that you got in the mail and all of the literature that you received in the calls. These are the ladies that are doing that, and if you weren't there, I'd like for you to give them a round of applause for a quick second for doing that. They're going to get my hands off on this. And I don't want them to think for any second of what's going on here that I don't appreciate the work that they do. And anybody that's helped us along the way, I just want to take a quick moment and say thank you for so many of you. You know, I always said when I was a kid, I was the last guy in the civil rights movement to speak. With Reverend Jesse, I was trained by Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yeah, boy, you got 30 seconds. I'm going to tell you about the black farmers in 30 seconds. But they would call me dead last. The crowd would be leaving, and they would give me the microphone. But I had the best 30-second speech you ever want to hear, bro. I can tell you that. And you got to be the best. That's where I'm going with that. When they pass you the mic, you got to be able to open your mouth and do it and be the leader that you need to be. Everybody can't be a leader. That's where I'm going. But there were some people that helped organize and make those marches and stuff. They're just as important as Jesse Jackson was. That's where I'm going. Everybody is important. And the minute we take for granted that everybody isn't important, guess what? You're doomed to fail. I can't do anything, but we can change the world. Remember that. I can't do anything by myself. Nothing. But I can do great things with we, and if I start that sentence with we, this is what we would like to do. This is what I think would be beneficial for everybody. All inclusive people, and that's what we have to get back to in this country. So again, and everybody who's helped us on this conference or been a member and attended these conferences year after year, I would like to thank them for doing that and listening to me and putting that with me. How many have seen some of the television interviews that I've done? Anybody in here? Y'all need to start watching TV. Watch CNN, MSNBC, and like I said, even Fox. I go on Fox News. I don't care. You give me 30 seconds to tell you why we should get some help. I'll do the interview, and I don't care what you call me afterwards. That's what leadership is. You have to have very, very thick skin. And when I first read about Jerry Falwell calling me a communist, he called me all kinds of names. And I was young, man. I said, that man don't even know me. And he said all these nasty things about me. I didn't love my country. Boy, don't like banks. He don't like the government. He met with world leaders that didn't like our country. I don't like my country. I wanted to treat us better. I want us to get a better reception at the homeland in which we live in. There's a big difference. I'm saying that because you got to have very thick skin to be in leadership. Leadership isn't easy. And sometimes you're going to make some decisions where people don't always agree with you. And I hate to keep quoting my daddy, but when we took the settlement 20 years ago, I had some mad people in it. My dad tapped me on the shoulder. Guess what he said, Brother Bob? He said, don't you worry about that. He said, a half a loaf is better than none. Some of your people get to eat. I never forgot that. I'll never forget that. So if you make a difficult decision, and there's going to be people that don't always agree with you, always know that a half a loaf is better than none at all, and somebody gets to eat. Yes, it may not be the best thing for everybody, but the first settlement, 20,000 people got some money. The second settlement, 21,000 people got some money. And I'm going to win this one too. I'm going to talk about it a little later. But I'd like for y'all to get Ben Crump around the applause, man. Ben Crump, come on, man. We can do better than that with Ben Crump. Ben Crump understood the issues and helped bring into court some of the issues that I was raising with debt relief and 120% debt relief for Black and other farmers of color. And I'm going to be talking about some of those issues a little later on, and how it may affect you and how you may be able to take part in that process. So I'm going to invite you. Then I want to get more of an intimate conversation about that and how that's going to work as it rolls out. What could happen, what can happen, and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave that right there. But again, Ben Crump did a really, really good job of getting out there and letting the political leadership know that we weren't in agreement with what they had when they repealed debt relief. Yes, we was being sued by 12 different complaints in federal court. I was fighting those complaints in federal court. May have won, may not have won. But I ain't trading in 120% for some partial loan payment. That's like having a deed of trust. I get a deed of trust for 100%. USDA, you guys got my deed, right? You get 100%, they pay it off, the government gives you a deed back. Here's your deed. You paid your loan off for $400,000. Here's your deed, and here's the 20% of that coming to you in a separate check to pay your taxes. Who was that? I got to shut up. I want this 120%, and I don't want this partial loan stuff. Where they catch my payment up, that's the old. I'm not trading that for that. I'm going to talk about that later. Ms. Board, you ready for the speaker? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Nicole can start. Nicole can start.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I hear echoes that.
The volume's coming up. Put the volume back in that one. Put the volume back in that one. Put the volume back in that one. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Tara, I don't know what you're hearing. Very loud.
The only thing is this is the only one that has volume that I can do the projector. See, I'm pushing sound. It's not turning it down.
You have a mute button.
No. Oh.
Okay. So I think the sound issue has been resolved. Thank you, Kara, for bringing me on. Charter Communications is proud to support the National Black Farmers Association 32nd Annual Conference. And we not only value, but depend on the contributions this organization makes every day. I want to thank Dr. John Boyd and Kara for inviting me to participate in this wonderful event, and for the opportunity to talk about the need to expand broadband internet access and adoption in rural communities. And I want to congratulate you on putting this event together, because I know that you put in a lot of time and effort into making this come together seamlessly, especially with some of us participating remotely. So to start, I want to say I believe that Charter can play an instrumental role in helping the National Black Farmers Association with this year's theme of reclaiming, regaining, and regenerating your farms. At Charter, we're investing in developing the next generation technology and needed to address the most critical social challenges facing disadvantaged farmers, ranchers, and landowners on rural broadband access and adoption. By way of background, Charter is a leading broadband connectivity company and a cable operator serving more than 31 million customers in 41 states through its Spectrum brand. We're driving innovation and growing economies from coast to coast. Charter has invested nearly $40 billion over a 4-year period in our network infrastructure and innovative technology to build out our network in urban and rural areas, especially among minority communities. We support getting broadband out to rural communities. In 2018 through 2019 alone, we extended our network to provide broadband to more than 1.5 million additional homes and businesses across our footprint, about 30% of which were in rural. We're scheduled to build out more than 100,000 miles of gigabit high-speed broadband infrastructure to nearly 1 million unserved customer locations awarded to Charter in the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund auction. We expect to invest approximately $5 billion, offset by $1.2 billion in support from the auction. And our investments are paying off. Spectrum was ranked #1 in rural internet service in the US News and World Report's Best Rural Internet Service Providers. Likewise, we're equally focused on improving adoption among opportunity communities through philanthropic support to community organizations, including our Spectrum Digital Education Grant Program. The program provides computers, digital education classes, and tech labs for thousands across the country. Over the past 4 years, Charter has committed $8 million to fund the Spectrum Digital Education Grant Program. And we remain committed to being part of the comprehensive solution needed to address broadband access and adoption gaps in the United States. We understand that the rural challenges of broadband access and adoption deserve collaborative answers. And that's why we're excited to be on this panel and to partner with NBFA. The price of not addressing these issues together in a unified manner will be far too great, while the return on our collective efforts will be extraordinary. Rural farms are rural businesses. Modern farming practices depend on reliable high-speed broadband, as does the ability to live, work, and conduct business transactions in rural communities today. So thank you for all showing up today, and I hope you enjoy hearing from the esteemed speakers participating in today's discussion. Over to you, Kara. Okay, so while we wait for Kara to rejoin, maybe TJ and Bob, you can briefly introduce yourselves. Starting with TJ.
Thank you for that, Nicole. My name is TJ Taylor. I'm a native Mississippian. I grew up in rural Mississippi. Currently, I am the executive director of the Mississippi Cable Association here in Mississippi. So we advocate on behalf of cable companies to improve our industry, to help expand broadband to all parts of Mississippi, and to make sure that the laws are fair and equitable to all stakeholders.
Thank you. Hi, Robert Bob Branson, President and CEO of the Multicultural Media, Telecom, Internet Council. You can just say MMTC. That's what everyone else does. A lot simpler. Happy to be here with the Black farmers, and I've got to take a moment of personal privilege that I grew up in rural Virginia. My mother's still there. We had a family farm. In other words, we fed ourselves, and maybe every now and then did a little commercial activity. But I also worked on farms when I was coming up as a kid, picking tomatoes, and I'm still upset about how much they used to pay me for that. But that's another story. Sorry. But it was a lesson learned. Let's put it away. Doing that probably helped me in college, because I knew I did not want to be doing that the rest of my life. But I do appreciate the role and what goes on with family farms. And I'm hoping today that we can discuss some things. And then Nicole's already given you a little preview of some things that maybe can help the farmers of the world, particularly the Black farmers, because we are in a new century. We do have new technology. There are better ways to do things, particularly as we look at tools of technology that are out there. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about some of those today and some of the things the government is doing to help people. So I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. So the topic today is expanding broadband internet access and adoption for rural Black farmers and family. So it's really looking at two prongs of the equation. One is building broadband, and the other one is getting people to adopt and get online once the technology is available. And as the speakers on this panel know, this is definitely a two-prong issue, and adoption is equally important as access. Broadband has become an indispensable part of our daily lives, particularly in minority and rural communities, and it's proven to have had a profound impact on our overall quality of life, especially in the areas of education, health services, economic development, and social engagement, as we all experienced during the pandemic. So TJ, maybe while Kara gets set up, I wanted to start with you and ask if you can talk about how internet service providers are expanding into rural communities and what kind of challenges they're facing in terms of population density.
Yeah. So like I said, I am a Mississippian. I was born here, grew up in rural Mississippi. And so thankfully I get to work on these issues because my parents still live in rural Mississippi. And so I kind of understand the issues. I know why it's important. And as my parents are getting up there in age, I want them to have everything to stay in communication with us, to have telemedicine if they need to. And so my member companies here in Mississippi, our cable companies, our ISPs, they have been working diligently over the years to use their own private money to expand. And like Nicole said, because Mississippi is so rural, you have so few houses over so many miles. And so it's expensive for those cable companies to go out there and to lay that, whether it's coax or whether it's fiber. And it's scary for them because they are in the business of making money at the end of the day. And so they have to get a return on that investment. And so it's slow right now. And I know people want it right now, and people want the internet immediately. It just takes some time. And so I know we're going to talk about it a little later, but these federal programs that we're going to talk about, they're really going to help get it out to those rural areas quicker than many cable companies could do it on their own. And so, but in Mississippi, we've been partnering with our tribal communities, the Choctaw Nation here. Some of my member companies have partnered with them to serve previously unserved parts of their communities on the reservation, partnering with cities to help expand broadband in their areas a little outside the city limits where people don't have that high-speed internet that we're trying to get everyone connected to.
Thank you. Apologies. I am in a very urban area and trying to mute some really loud noises in the background. So bear with me if I'm a little slow. So you've talked about some steps that have been taken by the industry to address the disparities in broadband connections. Are there any other that you want to mention that are being taken to provide broadband connections within minority and rural disenfranchised communities?
Say that last part again, Nicole, I'm sorry.
Are there any other steps that you want to talk about that have been taken by the industry to address the disparities in broadband connections in minority and rural disenfranchised communities?
Oh yeah, so I know one of my members, and actually a couple of them, but one off the top of my head, they have a program, Spectrum may do it as well, Nicole, I'm not sure, but they have a program where in communities where adoption is a problem in some areas, they have brick and mortar locations that they set up in communities, and they have the devices, they have the internet, of course, high-speed internet, and the residents of their community can come in if they have to do homework, if they have to do job applications, if they just want to do research, they can come in, and those brick and mortar locations are open just about all day during the work day, school day. And they can come in and they can use the internet for however long they need to. And then, it's open, just about every day. And so until we can get it to them and then combining that with the adoption programs to actually help them afford it, that's kind of a temporary fix for people in those areas where we haven't gotten to them yet.
Thank you. That's actually an interesting approach, and it certainly solves that problem of the just relevance of broadband and getting people to have digital literacy and being able to understand why broadband is important and how to get onto it. What are some ways that you believe private investment can be encouraged in the broadband industry?
Yeah. And so a little bit about my background, and then I'll answer. So before I came to the Cable Association, I actually did some policy work in the Mississippi legislature. I worked for the speaker here. And so when we wanted to incentivize any kind of action, what you do is you pass a bill or you repeal some law that is an obstacle, right? So right now, the big thing is electric vehicles. And so what Congress and what the Mississippi legislature, they're doing is incentivizing either the purchase or production of electric vehicles. I think we need to do the same as it relates to broadband expansion. And whether it's, pole attachment fees, having a law to ease that in unserved areas, or whether it's permitting with cities and counties to expedite that. That's something that if we're going to take this seriously and if we're going to bridge this gap, the legislature and Congress, they have to, step up, take it seriously, and pass a law or repeal something that's standing in the way of making it more affordable to get out to, the end of the line, last mile homes out there.
So that's certainly a good point. There is a need to remove obstacles, and you said barriers to getting the lines installed in a efficient manner, in an expeditious manner, and that certainly would be very helpful. Or on the resources, the financial resource side, would you describe some of the programs such as the NTIA's Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program that were born out of the IIJA, the Infrastructure Act, and other policies or regulations that you're aware of that help to prioritize broadband expansion projects by providing financing?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned BEAD. BEAD was one of the newer programs that Congress passed recently. And what it is it's a grant program for states that can apply, and they have to have a state plan where they apply to pull down these federal funds. And why it's important for rural communities is that the states have to certify that they are going to first serve the unserved communities. And in this program, it's defined as a 25 download speed to 3 upload speed. And so in those areas that lack that 25/3 internet speed, those are the communities that are being served first in BEAD. States have to certify that we have a plan to serve these people first. And so you build that out. You can't spend any more money, is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole. You can't spend the money until you hit those unserved. You have a plan to hit that unserved. And then you can go to the underserved communities. And then after that, you can, I think, hit your anchor institutions, your hospitals and things like that. But right. Yeah, you have to hit that unserved first. And so Mississippi, we have, as you can imagine, a lot of unserved rural areas. And so this is going to be big for Mississippi and a lot of rural states around the country. And so BEAD is one of them. I think you mentioned RDOF just a few minutes ago. RDOF was another one. I think RDOF was $20 billion, I think, somewhere in that range, and with the same goal of expanding broadband in unserved areas. I think BEAD is $40+ billion. And so just those two, you're talking $60 billion for the entire country, and I guess some of the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. And I know right now, Mississippi, we're kind of late to the game. We just set up our broadband office this year. And so some states are well ahead of us, but right now we're, trying to pull down those capital projects funds. This is another federal program, which is in that same ballpark, 10 billion, it's in the $1 billion range. With the same goal of the Congress has been very, it seems they're very dedicated to fixing this issue this time around. They are dedicating real money to fixing this across the country and making sure that everybody is connected to the internet. COVID, I think you mentioned it, the COVID pandemic really kind of shone a light, especially in Mississippi, the haves and the have-nots, right? You have the people when kids had to go home for school and had to do the at-home learning. You had some kids who didn't have a device. You had some kids who, even if they did have a device, they didn't have a high-speed connection where they could stream their classroom. And so they really showed the deficiencies in Mississippi, and Mississippi has taken it seriously. We during the CARES Act money, the legislature used a portion of that to expand high-speed internet as well. And so,
right.
Those are
well, it does seem like there's a great deal of political will at this time to make this happen. And to that point, I'm going to move over to Bob for a minute. Bob, maybe you could talk a little bit about the constituents that MMTC serves, and talk about a program that was created to help people adopt internet, which is the other side of the equation. Why these programs, these investments to help increase broadband adoption are important in terms of looking at bridging the digital divide.
Just remember to unmute. Thank you very much. Let's start off, going back to, if you don't mind, a little bit, going back a little bit into 2021 last year. Congress allocated $3.2 billion, a billion with a B, for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. It's good things about it, which provided a benefit to those who wanted to sign up for the internet. Now, they followed that up with the IIJA and provided 14.2, once again, billion with a B, money for the longer term Affordable Connectivity Program, or in DC we love acronyms, so ACP. So and what is the ACP? Well, the Affordable Connectivity Program is an FCC benefit that helps ensure that households can afford home broadband internet service. That you need for school, for work, for healthcare. For a lot of things. And what does it do? Well, the benefit provides a subsidy of about $30 per month toward internet service for the eligible households. Now, if you're on a tribal land, you also qualify for $75 a month. There also is a provision in there to provide equipment. I think it's a $100 subsidy. Now, the beauty of that is, and $30, if you'd asked me about this last year, you said $30 a month, or even $75, I would say it's probably not getting you what you really need. Fortunately, companies like Charter and others stepped up to the table and said, "Hey, okay, we got what you want to do. So we're gonna provide a plan that people can get for $30 and get you real broadband, which is fabulous." So most of the major corporations ISPs that provide service are doing that, and therefore, we're able to get more people online. Problem is that the government gave it, government put it out there, but how do we get the notice out to people? How do we make sure that people in rural communities like my own hometown know that they can apply and get that. And that's where MMTC is focused right now, trying to get more and more people, trying to have sign-ups to get people out there. We're not alone. Many of the other organizations, National Urban League, NAACP, all these major groups out there, and I'm sure the Black Farmers will be doing the same thing, trying to get the word out to our people. It's not it's a long process to fill out the forms, but it's not that difficult. You know, I mean, I joke because, you know, I have a PhD person on my team, and she attempted, Dr. Fallon Wilson, she filled out the form, took her 15 minutes. She's got a PhD. It took her 15 minutes. So, you know, you're talking your average person out here who's not computer literate. I suspect it probably takes them a little bit longer. And we found that out in our sign up days too, that, you know, we try to get people signed up and it takes a little bit longer to do it. We are working with the FCC right now, trying to get them to simplify things to try to change the how they qualify people. And I guess I should probably, do you mind if I get into what the qualifications are to get the benefit?
Sure.
So if your household has an income that is at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines, you qualify. If you participate in certain programs such as SNAP, Medicaid, federal public housing, SSI, WIC, or Lifeline, you qualify. If you participate in tribal Pacific programs such as Bureau of Indian Affairs General Assistance, Tribal TANF, Food Distribution Program, and Indian Reservations, you qualify. If your kids receive free or reduced price lunch programs or the school breakfast program, you can qualify. If you received a Pell Grant during the current award year, you qualify. If you meet the existing participating providers' low income program, you qualify. I mean, the government is saying we've got a lot of ways to help you qualify. You've got to fit in one of these categories. But like I said, once again, we've got to get the word out to people to go ahead and fill out the form. And the beauty of it is that most of the ISPs, and in fact, I could probably say all, are willing to work with people. You just got to know what questions to ask and ask the questions, and then they will even help you with filling out the forms if you need it. And we have other resources out there, so take advantage. And let me say that once again, 14.2 billion. That's a lot of money to get people signed up. But and it's not enough though. I mean, I should also add, we are going to be advocating this year, end of this year and beginning of this year, to make it more permanent, because you don't give a person a way to do something that's helpful, and then a year later take it away from them. That would not be good. So we will be advocating to make it more permanent. We're hoping with the environment, the political environment, that just like the Affordable Care Act. Remember how people used to complain about that and say, hey, how bad we got to get rid of that. This election cycle midterms, I've not seen one ad saying let's get rid of the Affordable Care Act, because people have gotten it. They understand the benefit. We think this program will be the same way. We get it out there, and like I said, to Black farmers, I mean, you've got people in your houses, kids in the houses. They need to be on the internet in order to go through this world. So.
Well, so let me, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. And let me pick up on that point, because we have a question in the chat asking whether wireless solutions are a better rural strategy. And I'm gonna punt that to TJ. I do think that it's important that the solutions be technology neutral, but is it a wireless solution that's going to help bridge some of those gaps that we have in access to broadband?
I think it can be a solution for sure. I think anything that, and the federal programs hit on this, it is technology neutral. As long as you can meet that requisite need, that speed requirement, you're good, and you can get money to expand that. So yeah, wireless definitely can be a solution to bridging that gap. But like you said, I think a technology neutral approach is the best approach. And whatever's out there, let's use it.
Right.
whether it's, Elon Musk with Starlink, beaming broadband internet down, or whether it's fiber or hybrid fiber coax or wireless, let's use it all.
Right.
I think we think clearly fiber is the best technology, but it's not available in every community. It's not going to be available. It's not going to be cost, it's going to be cost prohibitive in many communities. I also should say I was on the Maryland Rural Broadband Task Force, and we were looking at these very issues a few years ago, and that's why we came to the very conclusion that you have to look at every tool you have to get people online. And then of course, when I go home to my mother's house on Sunday mornings, she's 90 years old, 90 years young, so she can't oftentimes go to church on Sunday, but she can hook up that tablet, and I bought her one of those little metal tablets so she can watch her church service. And that helps her out. But she has to watch that wirelessly because the internet service she has in the house, the Wi-Fi service, does not work the way it should work. And unfortunately, a wireless signal actually does better than the hard signal that she gets, because they do not have fiber in her town. They're looking at doing it, but it's not there yet. And in order to build it out, it's going to take time. So in the meantime, we got to use what we have. So
I agree 100%, Robert. We're not in a position, especially in Mississippi, we're not in a position to be closed-minded about anything.
Right.
Like we can't say, oh, this technology is not good enough.
Right.
No, we need to use it and try to get the most of it as we can until we can get the best technology out there.
Right. I think the main thing is, can you do, homework? Can you get onto your, telemedicine appointments? As long as you're able to really use it for those transactions. And I think for a lot of farmers, it does, it is important to have that access to Wi-Fi, even for their equipment. As long as they can deliver those solutions, let's just be agnostic about it and get the job done. So I think we're coming close on time. I don't see other questions in the chat. There's a comment very on point that rural communities are sparsely populated and poor, and we've talked about the dual challenges, one which is build out and one of which is adoption and getting people to see and understand why broadband is relevant to their lives and how they can benefit from it. I maybe just want to give you each an opportunity to, provide some closing remarks on any area that you feel is important to share, and otherwise we'll close out our panel.
Yeah, I'll say that this issue is at the forefront in policymakers' eyes all across the country, whether it's Congress or your local governments or your state legislatures, wherever you might be. And we can't cede that ground. Like, we are in a great position right now. And it's only, and while they're spending, the feds are spending $70+ billion. I think Robert mentioned it, it's gonna require more money to get, if the goal is to get everyone connected with high-speed internet, it's gonna cost a lot of money to do it. And so we can't let off the gas right now. We're in a good spot. We need to keep pushing. And so for the Black Farmers Association, I would say, talk to your local representatives, your senators, your Congress people, let them know that this is important and that this is something that you need. And then I think you'll have a receptive audience once you have those conversations.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Perfect line. What I would also say, and that's what we've been telling our people, you mentioned the money that's coming into the states, like $100 million per state, something like around that area. Well, the governors are going to make those decisions oftentimes, or their people. So you need to make sure you're in those offices, or you have someone that's talking to them, your representatives in there, to make sure we get our piece of the pie, as they say, so that when the dollars are being distributed, that your communities are a part of it. Because let's be honest, we all have grown up where we know but oftentimes people that look like us aren't counted and don't get the benefit. Speaking of counting, I should also point out the FCC's got a mapping item that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks. It's going to look at where broadband is. You need to have someone take a look at that and make sure that your areas are properly accounted for. What they're looking at is where broadband is and where broadband needs to be. If they screw up that, then guess what? You won't get the dollars. You won't get the things that you need in your community. So make sure that that you review those. I have someone who knows how to review them, do that, and advocate. I mean, like I said, it's a lot of money, but if you don't get in there and advocate for it and show them your need, it will go to the squeakier wheel in the next community, and someone else will get that money. And that's what we've been trying to do. And we also got to move to the next step too. You know, once we get the people lined up and people have broadband, we've got to show them the benefits, you know, and there's a lot out there you can do. There's a lot you can do with this technology. So I would recommend that if you get a chance to, you know, have more technology focused people, you know, meet with you, tell you some of the new things that they have out there, you know, I mean, how you can look at soil and weather conditions, things like that, all this stuff technology can bring. And you mentioned earlier about electronic vehicles. Well, you know, I mean, you could probably have your combine set up to drive itself. I know my electric car drives itself, so I can see that day where you could do some of the farming, you know, set up like an iRobot, I guess, through the house, so it can go through and do things. I think that's the future, and you gotta be part of that future. So I appreciate you inviting me here and let me talk to you a little bit about this, because like I said, it's very, very important. We're trying our best to get the word out everywhere and anywhere we can to make sure our people are empowered and that we get our piece of the pie. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very selling points. And thanks to you both. And Kara, will turn back over to you. Appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.